Good evening, everyone. My name is Maura Keefe. I'm one of the scholars in residence here, and it is my privilege to be able to moderate this brief conversation following that fantastic performance. Let me introduce the two people who are with us, and I will introduce the dancer when she joins us. I think you recognize her from her beautiful standing up in the house before the show, Linda-Denise Fisher-Harrell, the artistic director. And Jonathan, you might think, I've seen him on the stage before, but he's back in a new role. This is Jonathan Alsberry, who is here as the rehearsal director. And I'm going to be talking to them about all the work they're doing. I've been thinking a lot about putting together an evening of work, and one of the things, Linda, you said in an interview when you became the artistic director of Hubbard Street, is that you knew how to assemble evenings of work from dancing them, and I was wondering if you could just give us some insight into how it feels as a dancer and how that has shaped how you're thinking about putting together an evening of work for the performers.
Well, my mentors, Lou Conti, who was the founder of Hubbard Street Dance Chicago, as well as Judith Jamison, the artistic director of Alvin Ailey American Dance Theatre, always put together brilliant programs. So I know what it feels like on the body. I know what it feels like as an audience member to be taken on a journey. So I think about those things when assembling a concert, is how to introduce you all to the dancers, as well as how I want to leave you. So yes, I was taught by some of the best.
So in imagining this evening that we're seeing tonight, we see a brand new work. Thank goodness to be able to get back in the studio in the creative process. Tell us how you came to know of Amy Hall Garner, who choreographed the first work, As the Wind Blows.
Wow, I was introduced to Amy Hall Garner by my friend Darrell Grand-Moultrie, because they used to work together quite often. She used to assist him as a choreographer, and he said, you really need to talk to Amy. I was a professor at Towson University for 16 years, and in that capacity of professor, I used to direct the Towson University Dance Company, so I would always curate programs there. And so Amy came to set a work on my students, and she was brilliant. Just to see her create work on the spot, see her relationship to music, how music inspired her. So she was one of the first names that I thought about when I was named artistic director. Mm-hmm.
And can you say something about just the creation process? I'm going to ask Jacqueline about it, but when you were there with her, now working with professional dancers, exquisitely trained professional dancers, is a very different kind of instant dive in that sometimes with students you don't get right away, because they have to kind of be eased into it differently.
Right. So she said she was like a kid in a candy store, because the dancers are fantastic, and the dancers are all about process, and they love to help the choreographer and aid the choreographer in their process. So she was like set free. You know, she didn't really have to train anyone in her style of movement. The dancers just pick up really, really fast. It's almost intimidating. As a teacher, I teach them things and they almost get it before it comes out of my mouth. They're that quick. So she was really set free as a choreographer because of the brilliance of the dancers.
So Jonathan, that brings me to the work. Oh, here she is. This is Jacqueline Burnett. Beautiful dancing this evening, and thanks for representing the dancers out here tonight. It's fantastic. I know that we just made you change quick and sprint out here, but I'm wondering, before we move on to Jonathan, if you would say something about being in the rehearsal studio, or the creation studio, actually, with Amy Hall Garner for the first piece. And it had been a minute since you'd been in new work. You've been with the company for a long time, so you've been in this process, but it had been a minute. So could you say something about working this spring?
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for coming to the show. I've been in the company for 13 years, so I've been in a lot of creative processes, but I actually worked with Amy Hall Garner when I was in college, because as Linda-Denise said, she was assisting Darrell Grand-Moultrie, so I was already just excited to have her be in charge of the room, because I had seen her dance and interpret Darrell's movement for so long, and I was really enamored with her. So when she came in, I just loved it, and she was very good at looking at each dancer and kind of pulling out what she thought they were capable of, maybe not what they were doing at first, but what she wanted them to expand upon, and also brought in a lot of each dancer's personalities into the work. And so that made it fun to rehearse. And it was also great for us to, as a new company, get to know each other and get to know each other's movement.
Because some of you are veterans that we've seen dancing beautifully on this stage, or the old version of this stage, and some of you are newer. So that Jonathan, that brings me to the work that you did. And first, I want to talk about Lar Lubovitch's piece. You know, local boy from Chicago, great to see. And you've performed with Lar here at the Pillow. But you also coached the final piece, the piece by Aszure Barton, and they could not be more different. And working with those dancers, what you're working with and getting them to do is very different. So let's start by talking about working with the three men in Lar's piece and what you're working on with them.
First of all, I'm so excited to be back here at the Pillow and on this stage again. It's just really, really wonderful. With Lar and Aszure actually have quite a few similarities, not to the naked eye per se, but with Lar, he really was once a painter and still does some painting to this day. So when I work with the dancers in Lar's work, it's really about making the shapes, carving the spaces on the stage as well as with their bodies, making strokes of movements and being clear with that while using pristine technique, because there's lots of fast movement and big jumps and lots of long lines to use there.
But you're also coaching those three men to be different personalities within the movement.
Yeah, Lar speaks a lot about each of those etudes being, having a different thing to say. You know, rhapsodists were kind of like the rappers of the day back in the day. You know, they had something to say, each one, when they would be out in the street speaking and proclaiming things. So he speaks a lot about that, that each one has something to say. It's really the story of the music. He doesn't like to give a lot of, this is what you're thinking in this moment. It really needs to come from the sound, from the music, and from the body. And the emotion has to come from the technique of the structure there.
So Linda-Denise, before we hear about how the dancers learned how to do it, would you just say something about why you wanted to bring Busk into the repertoire?
Well, back in 2019, I was appearing with the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater. It was Masazumi Chaya's last performance as Associate Artistic Director, and he was rehearsing Busk. And he said, Linda, why don't you sit next to me while we run this piece? And that was my introduction, sitting on the stage and having the dancers this close to me performing Busk, and I was blown away. So once made artistic director, also one of the first things that I thought of. And this company is so incredible. I thought, you know what? It was superb when I saw it like this. How spectacular would it be on this fantastic company? Yeah.
So Jonathan, talk a little bit about, you also work on the sound design. You have a long relationship with Barton and performed here as well with her company. So this is a completely different sensibility for the dancers. That gone is that sort of individuality that you work so hard on and with Lar's work. And here now it's really about the community.
It's funny because so much of Aszure's work is incredibly about the individual. And what unifies the dancers in this hive mind way that Pam spoke about at the beginning of the program is their attention to the counts. You know, a lot of the counts are like 7, 8, 9, 9, 1, 2, 3, 3, 3.6, 5, 9, you know, and it's like, and then you have to move over there, and then you have to move over here, and then I'm on a 3 and do this. So it's that focus and attention to how to be accurate, and it's constantly changing. The dancers know every single part in the work, so that's changing a lot. So it's really that focus on how to execute the work, and in that layering of the body within Aszure's work, idiosyncrasies come out, your humanity comes out, because you can't try, you can't act. She's really not into acting. She wants to see the humanity there. And I think that focus on execution is what really unites the dancers in a really, really beautiful way.
I wonder, Jacqueline, if you could say something here, because I sometimes think when dances are really hard, not just physically hard, but like the brain work that you're talking about, the complexity of the counting, that it turns up the volume a little bit. Like you just have to be fully present in a different kind of way. Talk a little bit about learning this work and then performing it before an audience.
Well, the first time we got this work last year, we learned it in a week, the whole thing. And the same thing happened with all the new dancers coming in this season. We just came back for 2 weeks before this engagement at the Pillow. So learning it is high intensity. Not only is the movement high intensity, but the ability to keep taking in information and keep adding layers. And really the thing I think that gets you through is just one thing at a time. Like, I know I go on the and count here and then one here, and you're just constantly responding to what you see on stage and picking up things in the music. And the way we count the music is, it makes sense once you know it, but it also makes no sense at all. And so I think each dancer kind of finds a way to have these landmarks of like, oh, I know that's the 3. And so they might hear something, but yeah, like you said, it's just one thing at a time, being present in every moment, and then letting go of what didn't work out.
So yeah. I want to, before I ask you to say something about Busk, while you still have the microphone, because we also see you in the exquisite piece Bolero, and you've danced Naharin's work before, Director Dance Chicago, you did here in, I think, 2017 or 18. So you're familiar with kind of the movement sensibility. But now there's not 14 of you out there. There's just you and your fabulous crony dancing to that version of the score. Could you talk a little bit about how the preparation is different for Naharin's work than for Barton's work?
Sure. I think they do have similarities in that they're both extremely precise, and the forms are precise, and the sensations are precise, and the intention is very known. But I feel that Azure's work is a little more anxious. Like, she wants you to be kind of this way all the time, like on the ready. And that's not unlike Naharin's work. He has this thing that he calls Dolphy, that is this kind of animalistic sensibility. Like in Bolero, there's all these repetitive motions that should feel new every time you do them, and at any moment you could snap out of it and become a completely different character. So they have overlapping sensibilities, but I think that Naharin's work requires you to understand the sensation of the physicality first, and Azure's work, I feel like that layer comes in after you know the structure, and the form.
So Linda-Denise, now once you've got sort of under the hood and looking at how Barton's work was made, did it feel very different? So you're now working from the artistic director eye, not having to learn those crazy counts from the inside. So was it a surprise to you how it was put together, different from your experience of watching it?
I've been fascinated by a lot of the gestures and what the gestures mean, and JoJo knows every ounce of this work, and so I think I did understand the intricacies of it, but it's just fascinating to see what's behind it and what's behind the humanity of it. So no, I'm not shocked at all.
So the other thing I've been thinking as I was in here on Wednesday night. We heard Prince welcome us into the house. Tonight we're in Fela Kuti, and I've been thinking about your role as artistic director as also kind of the architect of our experience. And could you talk a little bit? You selected the repertoire. You've got gorgeous dancers. You've got rehearsal directors who can get the dancers to really bring their A+ game. So how are you feeling now? You've been in the house for a week. Haven't left Chicago with the company in very much, so we're so glad you're here. So what's it feel like this week?
It feels incredible. I think the last time I was here was 1990, performing here, and it's just wonderful to be back, and just the whole atmosphere of the Pillow, and just this sacred space devoted to dance is just unlike anything else. And did you all have a good time? That's the important part. And the music that you hear when you enter is a part of it. The concert doesn't just start when the curtain goes up. It's the experience starts once you enter the theater. And that's from our brilliant sound engineer who sometimes plucks things, and he plucked Fela Kuti out of the air today. And I have been so fortunate to surround myself with brilliant talented people. And so I'm just so grateful to the dancers and to the staff and the entire organization that makes up Hubbard Street Dance Chicago. I'm just real lucky.
But you know, I have to say, but it's your leadership that is saying, like, I want people to feel welcomed to the party right away, and not enter the kind of sacred church of modern dance, but actually kind of come in and feel this groove and to feel welcome. So that's a different kind of experience from what lots of people are doing. So how is that tied to your artistic vision?
It's a dance concert and it's a dance company. So you should feel like dancing the second you enter, right? You should be in the spirit of the dance the second you come in and the second you sit down and you're ready to see some great dancing, right? So that whole thing is infectious and it's intentional. And it's something that you should relate to, and you should be able to see yourself on stage, right? You're the best parts of ourselves, the best parts of our humanity you see on the stage. And that just doesn't happen once the curtain comes up. And I just want to thank the dancers for being such amazing people, and they're so nice. Amazing people, and JoJo for his brilliance, and everybody back there, I'm talking to you. Thank you.
Okay, sudden death round. Favorite moment from tonight's performance, starting with you. Oh, you need the mic back.
Dancing with Simone in Bolero and seeing her face. We rehearsed in masks until we came here. So every night I see a new facial expression. I love that.
My favorite moment is in the first piece, actually, when almost all the company is on stage and they're doing this great unison moment, and they have a little, ha. I just love it.
That is so hard, because since I got this job, I'm in shock. Every time the curtain goes up and I see these fantastic dancers, it's like, oh my God, look at what I have become a part of. And so I don't have a favorite moment. Like, the whole concert
Did you know she was going to resist? I knew she was going to resist.
I'm just in shock.
So, okay, so then last question for you is your connection with the company and then leaving and coming back. How are you feeling the kind of your own history and your future?
Wow.
You could have just answered my easier question, but no.
I feel like I'm home. And I remember what it felt like to be in Hubbard Street Dance Chicago. I was very young when I got here, and so this was my first professional dance experience, and it was an excellent one. From the way we would train, the way we rehearsed, the way we connected with audiences, the way the audiences responded to us, like that was a visceral experience. And coming back here, that's all I want to do is bring that back, that feeling, right? That connection, that electricity between the audience and the dancers. And so I felt very welcome. The dancers have been very welcoming. Chicago has been amazing. So I feel like I'm back home.
Excellent. Well, you are also back home at the Pillow, all of you, and we are so glad you're here. Thank you for the conversation, and thank you for the gorgeous dancing.
Thank you all for coming.
Men es vires